Welcome, everybody, to the Christopher Dana Reeve Foundation's Live Better series. I'm Rob Girth. I'm the Director of Digital Media here at the Foundation. Today we are talking about adapting sports for life. Candace gave me this wonderful title, and I just screwed it up. Adapting sports, sorry, Candace, for life. I'm messing it up again. For people living with quadriplegia. That's what I'm excited about, I think, because we were discussing this before the call, that we haven't nearly done enough for people living with quadriplegia. So I'm very excited to have our guest on today. So that said, we are lucky enough to have a very wonderful expert with us today, and you'll meet him in a minute. But first, a little housekeeping. We are going to have question and answer. You can use the chat feature if you want, or if you want to be a little more interactive, you can actually call in and just join the panel and ask your question live like it's a call-in radio show. And to make that happen, you've got to get a little bit of details from our operator today, and that is Carlos. So, Carlos, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to join us via the phone to ask a question or make a comment, you may dial in 1-800-931-1309 and then press 1-4 to queue up for a question. You may also use the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, June 12, 2013. Thank you, Mr. Garth.
Thank you, Carlos. Now, here is our host today, Candace Cable, who you already heard laughing in the background at me. Thank you for that, Candace. And Candace, the thing about Candace is what you don't realize because she's so pleasant is that she obviously in another life was a very competitive person. She is a pioneer in the sport of wheelchair racing and a 12-time Paralympic medalist in 3 different sports. So you probably weren't always so friendly, were you, Candace?
Thanks, Rob.
How's that for an introduction?
I was a pretty friendly competitor. At the start. I wished everyone good luck. And, you know, in my head, I was saying, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win. But, and that wasn't always the case. But
enough times.
Yeah, enough about that. Hey,
Go ahead,
everybody, thanks for joining us today. I am really honored and grateful that you're part of this Live Better series on adaptive sports. This series, we have the opportunity to spend some time exploring a spotlight sport, which is going to be a little different today, with a guest expert, of which we do have. And our intention is to expand our knowledge of the sport, ways to stay healthy, learn some tricks of the trade, and how our guest experts stay motivated in their sport and in life. So today it's a little different. Like I said, we're going to be spending some time with our guest, Patrick Cottini, and he is actually going to share with us multiple sports that he's taken part in and adaptations that he's made in those sports and in his life to really adapt for his quadriplegia. And our guest today is a pretty accomplished guy, but he's got a mission that he's on to share the power of play with the world. He grew up in a small town, mountain town of 5,000 people in Quincy, California, and he was an avid outdoorsman focusing on cycling with the dreams of Olympic glory. And at the age of 15 in 1987, he sustained a cervical spinal cord injury at the C7 level. And Patrick considers it a high-functioning quadriplegia that he has. So he thought that maybe his Olympic dreams were over, and after graduating from high school with an academic and an athletic scholarship in rugby, he set his sights on the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. And if anybody knows about Champaign-Urbana, that university has brought forth multiple athletes with disabilities that have excelled in multiple sports. And Patrick is just like one of them. Here, he acquired his degrees in therapeutic rec and rehabilitation administration, as well as embarking on his athletic endeavors in rugby, wheelchair racing, and handcycling, becoming a Paralympic champion in the Atlanta Games, winning 2 bronze medals, and a world champion in handcycling. Returning to California in 2000, Patrick continued his education at Chico State, earning a master's degree in kinesiology and becoming an instructor in fitness, strength, conditioning, as well as in sports history. Then bladder cancer struck in 2001. He battled back and competed in the Alaska Challenge in 2006 on his Handcycle and began cross-country skiing. Patrick continues to stay active today, and I want to welcome him to our program. Thanks for joining us, Patrick.
Thank you. Boy, that's hard to follow.
Well, that's you, buddy, so you got to follow it.
Well, I'll try my best.
Well, let's start with growing up in Quincy, California. What was your life like growing up as a kid in a mountain town?
Well, it was quite different, from anybody that was in a rural area, or urban area, I mean, to where, you can see the little airstrip in that field on the left picture. That mountainside where all the trees are flowing down into the valley, that's pretty much where I grew up, is where all the little trees are at the bottom. My backyard was my playground, which was the National Forest. So I was automatically hiking and fishing and exploring different avenues around the area. So, and my dad grew up in Mount Shasta, and he was a very outdoors person, and that's how they fed the family, was deer hunting and bear and other wildlife, fishing, and so that was instilled upon me, and I think it was a wonderful youth growing up.
So you understand gun safety, and you were a fisherman, and you were really familiar with the outdoors. What got you involved with cycling to begin with?
Well, I spent a summer with my grandma in Mount Shasta, and they're 8-year-old kids. There's not much to do, and there was a bicycle race, and I had my bicycle up there with me, and I asked her if I could participate, and so I did, and I won my division, and I thought it was real exciting, and it just exploded from there.
And you began to get into competition in the Quincy area and beyond?
Yes. I actually got sponsored by a company in Reno, Nevada, and started racing every Tuesday and Thursday in and around the Reno, Carson City area.
Well, they have a huge cycling community in the Reno and Carson City area. They have the Tour de Nez, and quite often a race a weekend going on. Every time I drive down that way, I see lots of cyclists on the road. So you were one of those young kids out there pedaling along.
Oh, yes. And actually, some of us older people knew about Greg LeMond, and he was kind of my hero, mentor, and I actually got to do a sports cycling camp that he held in Reno, Nevada, because that's where he's from and his family's from.
So he was your inspiration, and with his successes, you were drawn along with those also. Well,
yeah, definitely.
Tell us about, you were 15 years old when you had your spinal cord injury. How did that happen?
I was training in Quincy, and there's a road that goes from my high school to the corner stop where my parents live, and it's 3 miles long, and I always wanted to try to get that 3 miles in 5 minutes. And one day I was out training, and I was doing wind sprints, which is you do 30 seconds as fast as you can, then you do a 15-second rest. And unfortunately, a car pulled out in front of me, and it pulled out from behind me and pulled back in. And mountain roads, there's a lot of them that don't have dotted lines down the center, no bike lane. It's just a road. And this vehicle, unfortunately, was pulling a horse trailer, and the brake lights of the horse trailer were not plugged in. And something got my eye to the left, and I looked back and forth in front of me, and the vehicle, horse trailer was stopped right in the middle of the road and did not have enough reaction time, and I hit the back end of the horse trailer. They said approximately going 40, 45 miles an hour.
Wow. And where were you taken first?
They flew me from Quincy to Enloe Hospital in Chico, California, and I spent about a month in ICU, and then from there they flew me to a very intense rehab program in Inglewood, Colorado, called Craig Institute.
Well known.
Yes, and they're also well known for their getting people outdoors and getting people more involved in what they like to do and recreation-wise.
And what was the first thing that really helped you understand that there could be life after spinal cord injury? Was it at Craig or?
Yes and no. I mean, they showed me some things, but hand cycling wasn't really developed to what it is nowadays, and they didn't really have any racing sports chairs. So it was actually when I got home from rehab, my dad and I were flipping through the channels late one night in 1988, and all of a sudden I saw these wheelchairs going around the track, and my dad just flipped past it, and I'm like, wait a minute, go back. And we finally got the channel, and it was the 1988 the Seoul Olympics, where they had two exhibition sports. Yes. And the one event that we were watching was the women's 800 meters. And the only two names I remember seeing was Sharon Hedrick and Ann Cody Morris. And then I got, and then I was like, both of us looked at each other, and it was like a big light bulb clicked on. And it was like, okay, well, maybe my dreams still can come true in a wheelchair.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I was in that race, just to let you know.
Thought so.
Well, yeah, it was back in the day, right? The 80s were definitely a time when I was racing quite a bit. And
yes,
Sharon Hedrick is a name to be remembered. That woman is an icon in the sport of wheelchair racing. So to have her be one of the names that you remember is great inspiration, because both of those women were from Champaign-Urbana in the University of Illinois. Was that the inspiration for you to go to the university there?
Well, kind of, because a year later at the Junior National Championships, Sharon Hedrick was at the award ceremony, and I had gotten the Rookie of the Year award, and she was my idol at that time, and she actually presented the Rookie of the Year award to me at the Junior Nationals in Cupertino, California.
Oh, man, that must have been so exciting.
Yeah, so, I mean, getting an award from my idol, it was like, oh, boy.
It was just like Greg LeMond teaching that clinic and you being a part of it. Same thing.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. So you gained an athletic and an academic scholarship to University of Illinois. Your athletic scholarship was in what sport?
They recruited me for quad rugby, which some people might know as murder ball because of there's a video that is out that people can rent that was made, and when the sport was first developed in Canada, they called it murder ball, and then when it came into the United States, they said, well, we're going to have to change the name or we're not going to get anybody involved or any sponsors for the sport. And so they called it quad rugby, and people started, at the time, in the early 90s, it was the fastest growing wheelchair sport in the world.
And you were going to the University of Illinois on a scholarship with rugby.
Yes.
Did you stick with it?
For 3 years, and I had a wonderful time traveling all over the Midwest, the East Coast, and every once in a while we got to the West Coast, but not very often. And it was neat being part of a team and people with similar disabilities to yours, that if you had some difficulty that you were dealing with, you could ask them and ask them how they're dealing with it. So you had peers that not only able-bodied that are same your age, but you had peers that were disabled that were peers, and that you could actually ask them specific questions about what you're going through.
Absolutely. And, I mean, being part of the University of Illinois, which has a huge population of individuals with disabilities going to school there, you have such opportunity to learn multiple ways to adapt and create new ways to do things in your life. When did you switch to wheelchair racing?
In 1993, I switched, and that was also when I did my very first marathon, was at Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. And since we're going to talk about some of the adaptations, in those early days, what were some of the adaptations that you made so that you could wheelchair race?
Well, we had a different pushing technique than the paraplegics had it at that time. We would use baseball gloves, and we put rubber on the back of your fingers, and we kind of did a flip technique instead of pushing with your thumb and forefinger like the paraplegics would use, because we didn't really have much function there. So we would use the back of our hands and kind of just flip the hand onto the rim and around. So it was a little bit different, but it worked.
It did. I remember quite often I was helping my friends that were quadriplegics tape up their hands for wheelchair races. Right. And those gloves were completely taped onto the hand, and it really, I think the quadriplegics that wheelchair race were the forerunners of the harness gloves and that position that the hands are in, and also to the next piece of the gloves, which is really a plastic piece that's held in the hands now, and not much the glove, but absolutely, I think that adaptation by people with quadriplegia were way ahead of the game of the progression of the sport.
Yeah, I agree. The way that the harness gloves that people use nowadays it's almost exactly like the pad on the back of the fingers, and it's a combination of the back of the fingers and how the paraplegics use their thumb and forefinger technique. So
any other adaptations did you need? Yep. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I just said it kind of incorporates both the paraplegic and quadriplegic way of pushing into one.
I agree. Were there any other adaptations that you made with your chair, or what kind of help did you need getting in your chair, or did you need any help at all?
We kind of found ways to get in by ourselves because a lot of times there wasn't people there to help. And so I used a lot of like towels on the fenders and different things where possibly we might hit and might get a bruise or something like that, because any type of wheelchair equipment that you're so held in close to, you want to make sure that you're not going to get a bruise or something that might cause a skin ulcer down the road.
So you would place a towel on top of the fender and make it a two-step process from the wheelchair to the top of the fender, then on into the seat?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And anything else with the racing chairs?
Just the hydration. We used what was called at that time a bike stream, which it's like a little elastic balloon that filled up with water, and then you had this mouthpiece that you could bite down and the water would just squirt right in your mouth, which is a very nice piece of equipment, but unfortunately they don't make them anymore. So they started making the camelbacks, and then on my Handcycle I use what's called a never reach system. And it's just like the bike stream, but it's not pressurized to where you bite the valve and it'll shoot in your mouth. It's like the camelback, you have to suck on the straw.
Oh, okay. All right. And that's something that you use hands-free?
Correct.
Cool. Well, the Chop Shop. I really like this picture a lot, and I want to know more about what goes on in here and some of the things that you've been able to create for your equipment, but also in your house and daily life.
Well, for one, I have designed different types of bathroom equipment that makes it easier for me to get around and do what I need to do. And I do that in my shop, and also I have other people in chairs that come over and they say, hey, I have this problem and I don't know what to do about it, or they have a weld in their chair that might have broken or something. So I help them repair their wheelchairs. I've made adaptations to my cross-country ski to where when I'm going uphill, I put another pole that I can engage, and it will flop down and will keep me from rolling backwards. And I do all that type of adaptations in my shop.
Now, you have a certificate in welding, and you also have a business called Patrick's Classic Custom. And is
Correct.
this a shop where you do your customizing?
Yes, I restore and rebuild or fix classic vintage automobiles.
Okay, so beyond adaptations of your own wheelchair and your adaptive sports equipment and your home, you're working on automobiles also.
Correct. but they're classic. They have to be 1972 or older to be considered classic, and they're a blast to work on because they're all metal. There's no plastic bumpers and things that you have to buy. You can actually mold the metal. You can work with it. It's like working with clay, but a little bit harder.
Are you saying that you can heat up the metal?
Yes, you can heat up the metal and shrink it to get out a dent or crease in metal. It's just you have to know different techniques on what to use.
Working with steel.
Yes.
Correct. All right. So your bike.
Yes.
I really enjoy the Handcycle, and the piece of my intro that we talked about, the bladder cancer that happened in 2001.
Correct.
Let's talk a little bit about that, and then segue into your bicycle, the adaptations you've made, and the Sadler's Alaska Challenge that you were a part of, because you left Champaign-Urbana, came to Chico State to continue your education, and you were beginning to get sick.
Correct. Yes. And the Handcycle, it was such a big part of not only my recovery but my dealing with frustration. I could get on it and just leave the house, and everything would just go away, and I just concentrate on the road and where I was going to go and how fast I was going to go. The adaptations on it, usually, or when I first got the bike, it had all the brake and the derailleur controls on the cranks, and that was a little difficult for me because my hands don't operate I can't extend my fingers out totally, so operating a brake and the derailleurs were very difficult when I was on the hand grips. So you can see down at the lower right of the bike, you can draw a circle around that, Candace. There's a brake
right here?
lever.
Right there?
Nope, down more. Down by the seat.
Oh, down by the seat. I see it.
Yeah, see it?
Got it.
Okay, and that's one of my brakes, and that also, yes, right there.
Right there.
And that also, yes, I mean it hurt. And that's also how I shift the front derailleur. And then to do the top crank derailleur is just a hand lever that moves up and down, just a little bar that sticks out of the derailleur. So it's it's not something you have to twist, or you can fine tune it by just moving it up or down. And on the opposite side of the brake, I have a mirror for safety. And then I do not leave the house or anywhere when I ride without a flag, because I know very many of my friends have gotten either injured worse than their original disability, or they've actually ended up passing away from a car crash. And then also around the seat, back from on the backrest, you can see there's two straps, and the lighter strap on the inside, that's to protect my rib cage from the other strap The other strap is very not flexible. It's very tight, and what you want to do with any type of equipment, you want to make it part of your body. So it's just like people want their ski boot to be as tight as possible, so their skis become part of their body. That's what you want to do with your adaptive sports equipment.
Absolutely. And do you do anything to help with your grip on the pedals?
I do. Unfortunately, I just took the grip tape off of the handles, and tomorrow I'm going to put some new grip tape on because of the lack of grip that I do not have. So I make the grips a little bit thicker, which makes it a lot easier to pull and push.
And does that create a little bit of a cushioning too?
Yes, it does, which is very nice. And then also you can see there's a tube right above the cranks that comes out, faces me. It's right up top next to the left crank. I don't know if you can see it very well.
Right there?
Nope, just to the left of that.
Oh, to the left of that. Yeah, it's hard to see in the
right next to the crank.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right next to the crank. And that's part of the never reach system. So all I have to do is lean forward. I can still be cranking, and all I have to do is lean forward and just suck on that. Oh, it's on the bite valve, and I get water. And then there's a tank right behind the seat.
Okay. And how do you strap your feet in?
Well, you can see it up front where the stirrups are.
I do.
And there's another Velcro strap that goes around the top of the feet.
And that's easy for you to reach?
Over the ankles. Yes, before I put my seatbelt on.
Oh, okay. And that seatbelt helps with side-to-side balance?
Side to side and forward and back. It really keeps me constrained against the backrest, so that I'm using mostly just my arms, and I'm not really using my trunk so much because there's nothing there to actually use. So it's most my arms, my upper back, and my upper chest.
All right, your cross-country ski. You said that you welded something onto, or that you placed a pole onto the back of it. Where would that be?
It's not shown in this picture, but right underneath my knees. There's a bar there. Yes. And on that bar, I placed a downhill pole that has a big basket on it, and I'm able to, it has a spring, so I engage it and it drops down onto the snow, so I can go forward, but when I start going backwards, it will actually dig into the snow.
So it's like a grenade.
It'll keep me from going backwards when I'm going up a steep slope.
Right.
Which is very, for me, being a quadriplegic, I don't have as many muscles to utilize that when you're going uphill, you got to hold yourself not only from going backwards, but you have to also continue going forwards, which is a difficult task, as you well know.
So any other adaptations that you've made to the cross-country ski to give you more stability?
I've added more, another strap that comes up higher, which is not in this picture, but it comes pretty much right under the rib cage.
So right in here?
Yeah, right there, correct. Yeah, and that really helps out. I still can lean forward a bit to get a good start on my stroke, and then once I get going, I can sit back up. So I can go forward and lean forward, and then as my stroke continues, I can sit back up and squeeze my shoulder blades together.
And then also for your grip of the poles, talk about your strapping a little bit that helps your hand grip the pole.
Well, it's kind of great with cross-country ski poles. They have a wonderful strap that goes around your hand to where you don't really have to have a grip on the pole itself. So it's a Velcro, and it Velcros very tight on your hand or glove, and all you do is you have to insert the pole into the snow and just pull down on that strap, and that strap is connected to the top of the pole, which allows you to get very great leverage to push off with the poles.
So what I hear you saying is that you're not actually holding on, the strap's holding on for you, so you're using your biceps, your triceps, your lats, your back, and everything to actually propel the pole and not really gripping with your hand.
Correct. I have to say, cross-country skiing is the greatest cardio exercise for out of any type of adaptive wheelchair sport I have ever tried or do. I love it.
And yeah, and you're involved with the program in Shasta, right?
Correct. There's a program called Shasta Disabled Sports, and they have 2 Nordic skis at the Nordic Park up there, and then they have several bi-skis and mono-skis for people to come up and rent or utilize if they're a member of the program.
Cool. So, and we'll put that resource up on the archive.
Yeah, I have that down on the archive list.
Great.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was jumping forward into your hand controls.
Yep.
I know this is a dark picture, but I think you can give us some insight as to what's different about your hand controls that you created so that you're not gripping.
And yeah, it's a great piece of equipment that I helped a company develop specific for me, and they've gone on and patent and are selling this exact hand control. I have very, very long legs, and it was a problem with the standard hand controls, which you pull the handle down towards the floorboards for gas, and you push in towards the dash to brake, which this hand control is set up just like that. So you see the rod going from the hand control to the brake pedal, so you push towards the dash to brake. But what's different is the gas control is like a motorcycle throttle. It's a rolling throttle with a cable, and there's a little bar if you can circle it, it's right next to the steering wheel, off the hand control. The little black
bar.
The hand
control? Is it this one?
Nope, that's the turn signal. It's right below,
okay.
Right below and towards the steering wheel. There's the hand control.
This is the hand control.
Yeah, right.
That's the hand control.
Just on the right of that is the little bar, and you kind of rest your hand on that, and all you have to do is use your wrist.
There?
No, it's right up from there.
Oh, it's right up from there. Okay.
Yeah. So erase the big circle. And it's just a little tiny black lever that comes out. And you just rest your hand on
there?
that. Yes, that's it.
Okay.
And you just rest your hand on that lever, and you just roll your hand back, and that's your gas. So it's almost like riding a motorcycle.
Oh, which takes us to actually riding a motorcycle. Great segue, Kat.
Thank you. This was a great project that a friend of mine here in Chico and I developed, and I have to give him most of the credit because he thought up most of the ideas, and it's a regular stock bike that you can buy on the market right now. Probably some of you have seen some of the commercials out. It's a Can-Am Spider, 2 wheels in the front, and there's 1 wheel in the back. We're coming back from a trip from Colorado, so we're fairly loaded. And we built just a standard little rack for the wheelchair. And it's just a square frame down at the bottom that the wheels kind of set down inside. And then there's a bar that goes up on the other side that, and there's a bar on the outside. I'm going to
jump forward so we can see that because we've got that right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bar on the inside that goes up along the wheel, and there's a
right here.
Yes. And then there's another little thin bar on the other side that's real flexible. And on the inside bar, there's Velcro on the top, and that goes up and over the wheel to the other bar, and then just Velcro it back to itself. So it Velcros very tight against the wheelchair. And that's the only thing that holds the wheelchair on, or in the rack, I should say.
Yeah, and it looks like it holds it really nicely in here.
Yeah.
And
where the bungee cord, I just have the bungee cord going around the cushion so the cushion doesn't fly out when I'm on long trips. But there's a rod that goes down on the outside that there's a little D-ring, and you push the Velcro through the D-ring, and you just Velcro it back on itself. So it really squeezes the folding wheelchair together and hold it very well into the frame. And then you can see down on my foot, there's just the regular, that's a good picture, there's just a regular foot peg that comes on a motorcycle. And what I did is I zip tied with stainless steel zip ties a leather stirrup onto just a normal foot peg. So, I mean, there's floorboards you can buy and all this other kind of stuff, but why buy that stuff when you can just put a leather buckle and zip tie it and away you go. So, and then there's the seat is all custom, so it's contoured to your butt. So it's kind of little wings on each side that hold you in, and then I have a waist strap that I put around my waist and thighs that Velcros tight and keeps me into the motorcycle as well.
Oh, man. And so also your hand controls, back to hand control, because I want to try to get that in there.
On the left-hand side, right below the grip, there's a lever sticking out. Right below the hand grip, there's a lever. And
right in here?
Yeah, right there, perfect. And that is it's a paddle shift. So there's no clutch, and so it's an automatic transmission and semi-automatic. You have to upshift, and so you just push that little button or paddle forward, and that goes. It has five gears, and it just works incredible. And then on the other side, I put a hydraulic handbrake, which works extremely well.
Is that
I had
over here?
Yeah, but it's on the other side of the handle, so you can't really see it.
Oh, it's on the other side, so we can't really see it.
Yeah, right. But I had a cable brake that went down to the regular foot brake, and it was only 60% of braking power, and I didn't really feel safe. So I installed the hydraulic brake, and that works extremely well.
What kind of seating do you have on the motorcycle to protect you? Any kind of cushion?
Just a cushion. When I'm on long trips, I use I think it's a 1-inch small Rojo cushion on top of the regular seat that's there. The seat that is custom, it actually was made by a motorcycle seat designer that he used to be a rehab nurse, and it has gel inside the seat. So not only do I have a gel seat, but I also put the Rojo cushion on as well, and then I have it put like a little sheepskin on top of that for really long trips. If I'm going to be on the bike more than 3 hours, I'll put that on.
Now, I have a question here, wanting to know how you engage the brake. Is that
how I engage the brake? It's just like a regular hand brake. That's exactly what it is. It's just a regular hand brake, because when you buy it from the company, it only comes with a foot brake. So the hand brake, it has, I'm going to get a little technical, it goes to a hydraulic slave cylinder, which pushes the existing slave cylinder that goes into the master cylinder. So there's no tying into any of the existing equipment that the motorcycle comes with. It's just you add on another slave cylinder, which is a very nice feature.
So how do you actually engage it with your hand?
You squeeze it.
Is it squeezing that you do? Okay.
Yeah, you have to you squeeze it. You can. I've seen another quadriplegic that wanted to ride my motorcycle, and what we did is we flipped it around to where he just pushes it with his palm.
Okay.
So he lets go of the throttle, and he pushes the handbrake with his palm. So
Okay.
that's a pretty simple way. If you can't squeeze, we can flip it around and you can push it.
Okay. Yeah, so you do have some hand grip.
Correct.
A little bit. Well, I want to move on to some health and wellness because you do some specific extreme stretching and some other things to keep yourself healthy and well. And since you had the bladder cancer and have recovered fully from it, what are some of the tips that you have for us about keeping the body healthy and well?
Well, obviously when you have a spinal cord injury, you're going to lose some bone mass. And there's medication that doctors can give you to keep calcium in your bones and keep them strong. But the best way to keep your bones healthy and strong is to weight bear on them. And the best way to weight bear is using a standing frame. And I use it once to twice a week. Here and there, I'll miss, of course, a week or a day or so. But this standing frame is not only just a standing frame; it's an exercise machine. It works just like a
elliptical
trainer. Yes. So you can push the handles that my hands are on. You can push one forward and the other one comes back.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody remembers Mike Utley. He was playing for the Lions football, NFL, and he trains on one of these and uses it. And that's, I pretty much got it because he used it and he endorses it. So, and it works very, very well. And it's very simple. It's just like a chair when you're sitting. So you can transfer straight from your wheelchair to the chair. Then you bring your legs over and put them in your feet in the little gray slots down the bottom. And then you put a strap around your waist. And it's just like a hydraulic jack on the right side. And you just jack yourself up to standing, and then you just push it the lever the opposite way to sit. And
cool. And
it's wonderful. It's a wonderful
the name
machine.
of this equipment?
Easy Stand.
Easy Stand. Thank you. I have a question here about your grip. Whether you were able to develop some new grip after your injury, or you always had a little bit of grip that was residual.
When I came back from rehab, I pretty much just had my left arm. I didn't really have much of my right arm, and very, very little grip. I've worked
in your right arm or both arms?
Just my left arm.
Okay.
My right arm, I didn't have hardly anything.
Okay.
Very little tricep, very little bicep, but with continuous physical therapy at home, and my mother driving me crazy doing these little clothespins on coffee cans. I can just remember all that. And I'd come home from high school, and I have to do that for like a half hour, taking these off and putting them on. So that helped with my fine motor dexterity with my fingers. And then I had just little 1-pound weights that I had worked with doing different exercises.
And you also said that you're a huge proponent of stretching. What's your stretching program like?
Before I even get out of bed in the mornings, I stretch at least 20 to 30 minutes. And it's mostly just my legs, but to stretch your legs, it incorporates your upper body, because I'm using them to stretch using a towel, or right now I'm able to grasp my feet without using anything. I'm very flexible in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I rotate my back so it's not stiff, and stretch my hands, my forearms, but majority of the morning it's mostly my legs.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I have a question here, wondering how you're able to fund all the different types of equipment that you have. Anything you'd like to share with us?
Yes. Well, I have gotten wonderful resources. To fund my very first Handcycle, I had a friend who was involved with Access. Not Access. It's through San Diego.
Challenge Athletes Foundation?
Thank you. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Challenge Athletes Foundation. I put in my application, and they funded the money for me to get a new Handcycle. And so that's another resource, is Challenge Athletes Foundation. And for the standing frame, I was very surprised that my insurance paid for it. The Medi-Cal paid for my
Mm-hmm.
standing frame. But you have
what about your motorcycle? We want to know about your motorcycle.
The motorcycle, I had to sell one of my cars that I restored to buy that.
All right, so you're a creative funder.
Yeah, I really didn't want to have to sell the car, but my father's getting older, and I want to be able to do more things with my dad, and he's been riding motorcycles for as long as I can remember, and it was just a nice transition to be able to do something else with my dad.
Well, I'd like you to share your afternoon yesterday, just briefly with us, with your dad, how you were out on the motorcycles and what it felt like. Please share it with everyone.
Yeah, well, yesterday was my birthday, and my dad came down to Chico from Quincy. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive, and we went up through Highway 32 to Lake Almanor, which is a beautiful lake, and just around the back country of Mount Lassen, and it was so green, and the trees were just overhanging the road, and it felt like I was on the speeder from Star Wars: Return of the Jedi, going through the trees and stuff, and it just felt so exhilarating, and it was quite a rush.
Oh, I love that sense of freedom that you've created by making all of these adaptations to equipment so that you can fly.
Well, that's been my mission, is to always try to go as fast as I can under my own power. But then I got more involved into the cars and racing cars and then the motorcycle, and now it's both.
Mhm. Oh, you're like the horses on that road right there, Patrick. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful, guys. That was just great. Let me just, before you wrap up completely, Candace, let me just tell people that if you go to christopherreeve.org/sports, That's where Candace is going to post all the resources, and we saw a couple people posting resources in the chat, which is appreciated. We'll also, Candace, I think you'll probably grab those and post those at christopherreeve.org/sports, and you can continue the conversation there if you have some more questions. And also, this will be posted, this whole webcast will be posted tomorrow sometime, as soon as I get in and get to it, at christopherreeve.org/webcast. So you can watch the whole thing again, listen to the whole thing again.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it. And if you do have any more questions for Patrick, please post them on the page that Rob just gave us, and we look forward to the next time.
And there's no questions that I will not answer. So please, if there's anything about how do I deal with bathroom care and sporting events, and because I know that's a huge thing that I deal with and personally, and so you know, I know that there's probably, if there's one person, there's got to be some others. So, and luckily I had the University of Illinois. I had all these teammates that I could ask right there, and now I know there's a lot more people out on their own trying to do what I did, and so I would gladly answer any type of questions.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.